Hello and welcome or welcome back to my channel. For today's video, you know by the title what we're doing. We're going through my top 10 best books of 2023. Now, none of these are new release reads because if you've seen my channel and any of the videos on it this year, you know I've been on a year-long book buying ban. So I've had to read existing books that were already on my shelf. So I've come up with my list of my top 10 and I've ranked them as best as I can as well. Obviously from day to day this list, the order may change slightly because these are all of the 115 or so books that I've already read this year. These are my top 10 favourites, so they hold a more special place in my heart. Without any further ado, we are going to get into my top 10. So in 10th place I have put It Happened One Summer. When I started reading this book, I didn't have high hopes. I wasn't expecting the greatest of things. I just thought, oh, it will be a fun, cute summery read. It was that, but it was also so much more, and I just loved how the relationship between Brendan and Piper developed and how they were there for each other. They had such good communication. He wasn't, yes, he was grumpy, but he wasn't like rude to everyone. He was just kind of a bit closed off because of things that had happened, and it wasn't like a grumpy, like I wouldn't have called him that grumpy anyway, but I loved their relationship, their communication. It was so refreshing to see. It was something a bit different and I just really loved it and enjoyed it and had a great time, to be honest. I wasn't as big a fan of the sequel, but I really loved it, and I loved seeing Hannah and Fox in this one as like little side characters where it wasn't so focused on them. So yeah, really thoroughly enjoyed that one. Next in at number 9 we've got Rock Paper Scissors, which I think might actually be the only thriller on this list. And I was so hooked when I read this. Like, I read it so quick. The chapters are so short. They all leave off on like a little mini twisty cliffhanger type thing. It really sucked me in and I was hooked from the beginning. Didn't really see any of the like twists coming or anything like that, so yeah, thoroughly enjoyed this one, and I would definitely say if you want to start getting into thrillers but you're not sure, this is a good one to start with, because it just, you think you know what's going on but then you don't have a clue basically, and I can see why it's so popular and so hyped up. By the way, a lot of these are probably going to be like very popular books and I can't really help that, so sorry if you've heard about all these over and over again. At number 8 I've put The Spanish Love Deception. Now I know that this is a book that people either love or they hate, and a lot of people hate on it, but I loved it. Like, I love fake dating. Some of the quotes in this, the way that Aaron Blackford treats her is so nice and again a bit refreshing, because it's like, you know, he doesn't have to go out of his way to do all this stuff for her, and when he's like, when I kiss you it's gonna be real and you're gonna know it, and like all this, it was a bit cheesy obviously because that's the type of book that it is. It's kind of like a cliche summer cheesy fun like fluffy romance, but it was just so good, and I love fake dating. You get me with that trope every time, so yeah, absolutely adored that one. Next, coming in at number 7, I've got Red, White and Royal Blue. I read this along with a lot of other LGBTQIA plus books for Pride Month, and I just absolutely devoured this book and ate it up. And then I was so excited when the movie came out after. Like, I didn't think the movie was that bad. Like, it could have been a bit better and a bit more accurate to the book, but I think they did a pretty decent job. But the book, I just loved the tension, the angst, the banter, like all of it was just so good. And this is definitely, of the two Casey McQuiston books which I read, this is hands down my favourite. And I just don't know what it is about it, but it had like a bit of a extra sprinkle of like some sort of extra quality that the other one didn't have. Now coming in at number 6, I've actually got Twisted Games. This was my favourite of the Twisted series. I didn't really like Twisted Love or Twisted Hate. I quite enjoyed Twisted Lies. This one was sort of tied with it in my opinion, but I think the reveal at the end of Twisted Lies is what made me not put it above this one, because this one is so refreshing that there's not like a miscommunication, conflict, third act breakup. The reason why towards the end they're pulled apart and they can't be together is more of a social and political reasoning, and they overcome it together, and there's not really any like proper breakdown of the relationship, which I adored, because I found it so refreshing to not just be like, oh, someone's done this or said this because they think that that's what they need to do, and then the other person's took it the wrong way and then they fall apart. Like, it wasn't like that. It was so much better, and I loved this like a million times more than the rest of the series. Okay, so now we've made it to my top 5. And my 5th place, it actually physically pains me to put it this low, and that is Icebreaker. I read this in January and absolutely bloody loved it, and I have finally just got Wildfire sitting on my shelves now that I cannot wait to read, but I'm reading other things first, so that has to wait. But I loved this. The fact that it focused on like them chasing their like careers and what they wanted to do in regards to their skating and stuff. They built this friendship and this relationship, but also it kind of focuses on more than that, because it focuses on Anastasia with her like eating and body image and stuff, and then obviously Nate is like a golden retriever, and they're just like, there wasn't really any like third act breakup, which I quite enjoyed as well. Like, I just loved how their relationship developed, their communication and their compassion for each other. I just thought it was very refreshing. But the only reason why I put it at number 5 is because, I mean, there's a lot of hockey romances, aren't there? But this one is done better than most of the rest of them as far as I'm concerned, from what I've personally read so far. Now in at number 4, I've got Carrie Soto is Back. I flippin' loved this book so much. I loved Carrie's character. I thought that, you know, the representation and like the determination of her, I could feel it all through the book, like the passion, determination, the hard work. Like, you make a book like that about tennis, right? About a tennis player. Firstly, if you're going to read about a tennis player, I say this every time about every like sports romance thing, but if you're going to read about a specific sports person in their field, you have to expect at least some element, if not quite a lot of elements about that in the book, because I think to fully immerse yourself in the world and make it be not like, oh, they could just be anyone, you kind of have to have that intenseness of the sport in there, if that makes sense. Like, if you were going to say, oh, I'm going to read about this person who's a athletic swimmer who competes, you're not going to have them barely be in the water and barely be swimming, otherwise they could just be anyone. They could not do that at all. Like, in my mind, it has to have, not like overkill, but you have to put at least a decent amount of that in there so that it shows that's what they're driven for. Do you know what I mean? Hopefully that came across as I intended it. But yeah, so I just loved seeing her commitment and her determination, and I really liked her character actually, and she was very misunderstood, and I just think Taylor Jenkins Reid just knows how to do it, doesn't she? I think, like all of her books, I think I've not rated any of them lower than a 4-star. Now in at number 3, I've got All In from the Naturals series. I loved this book. I loved this whole series, but I think this one was my favourite, just because we focus more on Sloane, who is probably my favourite character, I think. And it was just a very different setup, and it wasn't exactly the same as all the others, and it was quite differentiated, which I personally really enjoyed, and I thought was like a nice break, because obviously if all of the books at this point would have been following the same kind of storyline, then it would have been a bit repetitive and boring. But this one I really loved because there was so much to it. They were kind of going back and forth. There was like moments for other people to shine, like extra things were being highlighted and focused on. Yeah, this one just really sourced it out to me. Okay, now we're up to my top 2, and I really wasn't sure what order to put these in, so I've made a decision. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I think, to be honest, they're both probably tied for me, but on the day I've had to make a decision. So my second place goes to Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I read Beach Read last year, so that's why that isn't counted. And I read this and You and Me on Vacation this year, which I liked You and Me on Vacation, but it wasn't going to make this list. But Book Lovers, can we just say it together? Charlie Lastra. Their relationship in this, yeah, I loved it so much, and I had a great time with this. Like, I love her writing and everything that she comes out with anyway, but this one is up there with Beach Read for me. I am yet to read Happy Place. That'll be probably next year, but I just really enjoyed this. So now, my final one for my first place in top spot is From Luke Off With Love. I was not expecting this, right? When I read this book, I thought, oh, okay, I'll give it a go. Like, I'm sure it'll be fun, it'll be fine, it'll be a book on my shelf. Like, I was excited because it was about, like, ice skaters, and I love anything to do with, like, ice skating, ice hockey, like, anything sporty on the ice. Let me read about it, because I wish I could ice skate, but I can't. So I kind of have to live vicariously through that. And when I tell you, this was my first Mariana Zapata book, and it's probably the only one that I'm really that interested in reading, to be honest. I might try some of her others, but this one, The Slow Burn, The Slow Burn and Ivan Lukov. I'm not one of these people that hates smut in books, right? I can read it and I can enjoy it and it's fine. Like, sometimes I love it when it's a good, like, amped up romance, but the fact that they didn't even kiss and get together till like the last tiniest slither of the book, and it's a fairly thick book, I have no words really. This was absolutely incredible, and I was so hooked all the way throughout. And because it's such slow burn with such little affection and romance throughout, you notice all the little things that they do for each other and like how meaningful they are, and they just still have such an impact. That is why that is my first place. So I was not expecting that. I didn't think that would have won, but looking at everything, I think I've made the right decision in my ranking. And yeah, hopefully you all enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. Also in the comments, leave your top 10 or like your favourite book or whatever you've read this year that you've really enjoyed. I would love to hear it, and we can all have a discussion in the comments below. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff that you guys know how to do. Turn on the bell notification so you don't miss any of my future videos, and I will have plenty more coming for you very soon.